So I literally was having a bad day. So it'd been 5 years at this point. It was a holiday season. I had been shopping all day. I'd forgotten to eat. I don't know if that ever happens to you when you're like shopping for the holidays. You're like, it's 3 o'clock and I haven't had breakfast yet.
Yes,
And I
right.
was standing online, and of course it's the holidays, and there's like 100 people in front of me. And I was like, oh, I'm so hungry. And there was this package of gluten-free cookies positioned right in front of me as I'm standing there in line. I was like, clever merchandising. So I grab it, and it's beautiful packaging. It has this whole story about this artisanal chef. And I opened the package and to take a bite, and I couldn't even swallow it. And I was like, you know what? I deserve a cookie. Like, there is no purpose in life for a cookie other than to make you smile. It's not how you need vitamins and minerals. It's not how you should be consuming the majority of your calories. It has zero purpose in life, a little cookie. It's like a little smile maker, right? It's not a piece of cake or a cupcake or some big dessert. It's just meant to make you smile and give you a little snack. Right. And it was like, and it's butter, flour, and sugar and chocolate chips. Like, how hard is that? And it just like, there over this time between when I was diagnosed and when I started my company, there had been a lot of new brands on the market, but I wouldn't say that the quality or there was an improved amount of quality in any of these products or any significant amount of differentiation.
Hey everyone, this is Jonathan Marx from GoToHealth. I hope you're having a great day. Today we have the story of one inspiring American who healed herself from the inside out from a chronic, lifelong autoimmune disease. Her diagnosis of celiac disease meant she had to adopt a gluten-free diet, but alas, the gluten-free products on the market were tasteless and stale and had ingredients that made her symptoms worse. So she left her banking career and turned to baking. Her determination and innovation led her to creating the best gluten-free flours for cookies and mixes and cookies, and her company, Mightylicious, was born. We're talking today with Carolyn Haeler, the founder and owner of Mightylicious.com. Her cookies, flours, and mixes are now sold in 43 states, and you can also buy her gluten-free and vegan products online at her website, Mightylicious.com. Before we get to Carolyn, a reminder, please visit our website at GoToHealthMedia.com, where you can enjoy over 200 interviews we've completed. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. And if you like what we're doing, please give us a thumbs up or a 5-star review. That helps get the word out to more people. Thanks so much in advance. So welcome to the show, Carolyn Haeler. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me, Jonathan.
Good. So, Carolyn, you were diagnosed with celiac disease at the age of 31. Tell us what your symptoms were, what your life was like, and how long it took you to get a real diagnosis.
Yes, I started having symptoms at 31. It started as really simple indigestion, nothing dramatic, but it was annoying enough that I was talking to my doctor about it. Mm-hmm. Over the course of 9 months, it evolved into my immune system failing. My hair was falling out. My skin was turning gray. My stomach was distended and painful all the time. I had body aches and joint aches. I was just miserable. It was physically miserable. And I had just moved to New York City. I'd graduated from business school, moved to New York City. I had just started a new job and a new career in finance, which is a lot to do all at once, not only to start a new job, but a new career in a new field and a new city all at the same time. So my life was very hectic, very busy. As you can imagine, I was getting up very early to get into work before the sun rose, taking the subway. I'm not getting home until well after, sometimes midnight. Mm-hmm. And my immune system was failing, and it was devastating. At one point, we had done a lot of testing. We'd done blood tests. I'd done elimination diets. We tested for gluten, for dairy, for soy, all the things that you could test for. And my doctor looked at me sort of scratching his head and was like, maybe you have HIV. And I was like,
who do?
Maybe you should have tested for that. But that's imagine the crescendo of thoughts that go through your head when a doctor says that to you. Sure. And that's that gives you an idea of how sick I was.
Yes.
And how rapidly my immune system was failing.
Yes.
Fortunate for me, I didn't have to live in this sort of anxiety for very long. A few days after that, I had a colonoscopy and endoscopy scheduled, and they found the antibodies for celiac disease in my colon. And the doctor was like, congratulations, you have celiac disease, handed me a sheet of paper and sent me on my way.
Wow. So how do you treat celiac disease? How do you live with that?
So it is a chronic illness. There's no cure for it. It's an autoimmune disease, a lot like alopecia is a really famous autoimmune disease. Mm-hmm. We don't know much about them, and you can have them from birth, and they can develop at points in your life, and they can also, like, alopecia can disappear. I don't believe that celiac disease ever has disappeared, but it did not manifest. I ate everything prior to this diagnosis. I had lived internationally on 2 occasions. I lived in Italy and Switzerland, so I've eaten all the pasta and all the croissants and all the pastries and had all the beer in Bavaria, and I love gluten and I love food.
Yes.
And so this was not devastating. So, I mean, when you think about gluten, you think about like cakes and pasta and bread. You're like, okay, that's sad. But I mean, everyone since the 2000s has been on sort of a low carb diet anyway. So it's something we're relatively trained for, to be like, okay, let's avoid, the bun and the burger and things like that. And so this was a few days before Thanksgiving when I got the diagnosis. And I was like, you know what? I'm not eating anything unless it was pulled off a tree and still has the stem attached, or it was cut off an animal and I can see, where the knife like cut it.
Yes.
And my brother is a former paramedic and in health. And he by the next day, he was like, you're pink again. It was that quick that my body responded. Obviously, it took me years to fully heal my body, because celiac disease, I create antibodies that attack my colon and you do permanent damage, which is why I would die from this. Your colon is how you absorb nutrition, which is why I was turning gray and why my hair is falling out, is because even though I was eating things that were not obviously gluten-free, the damage was being done to my body, and then I wasn't able to absorb the nutrition I needed. So I immediately started getting better, but I also started learning about what gluten-free really means. And this is back in 2012. So we've learned a lot more since then, but gluten's in everything. It's a color, it's a preservative, and it's a filler, in addition to an ingredient in wheat, rye, or barley. And so things like that you would never think of, like many beverages have gluten in them in the form of caramel color. So Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola, even many brands of ginger ale have gluten in them. They have caramel, anything that says caramel color, that has gluten in it.
Wow.
Soy sauce has gluten in it. Sometimes apple cider vinegar has gluten in it, even though it should be technically naturally gluten-free. Oftentimes gluten is in things like spices. So I've reacted before to cinnamon. It can be a cumin and paprika, anything that is milled. And if there's wheat in or on the mill and they don't sanitize the mill between, there could be cross-contamination. Companies also use it as a filler within the spices as a sort of way to cut costs slightly. And then it's also used as a preservative. So it's in imitation crab. So like California rolls, a lot of Asian cuisines are going to have imitation crab meat in it.
Who knew?
It can be a preservative in things like turkey and ham in the refrigerated aisle. So lots of anything really that's manufactured is likely to have gluten in it. So it's not just bread and pasta and cake. Was almost the entire grocery store, with the exception of the produce and the deli and the butcher section.
It's absolutely sounds pervasive. I mean,
yes.
really difficult to avoid if you have this celiac disease.
Wow. It is. And I react to trace amounts of gluten. Like I was sprinkling cinnamon. I bought the Kirkland brand cinnamon from Costco, and the ingredients say cinnamon, period, right? There is one single ingredient on the ingredient list. And I was sprinkling it on my cappuccino in the morning and reacting to it. And I react in less than 3 minutes. So for me, if I eat just a little bit of it, I have a small reaction and then I'm okay. But if I take a full bite of something and I swallow it, I am very ill for hours.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about this company that you have called Mightylicious. Yes. So one of the ways I think you address this issue for yourself and help yourself heal was to start developing baked goods that you could actually eat and consume and not get sick from. Tell us about that process.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things as I was like living my life and going through this journey of being gluten-free, one of the things that I started to impact me, because obviously I'm healing my body and going through that journey, but I started to realize the psychological impact that food has on you. And while I don't necessarily miss pasta, the things that I miss are those memories that punctuate your life and that are psychologically important. Like I really miss drinking a cold sort of beer in the summertime at the beach. That's something that was really psychologically important to me. And it's not even something that I do often because I'm not a big beer drinker or drinker at all, but there's sort of that experience sort of punctuates your memories. I miss birthday cakes. It's not necessarily cake that I miss, but I miss participating in the celebration of birthday cakes.
You're bringing up such an important point about the emotional connection of food
Yes.
that we have and
Yeah.
these events in
Yeah.
our lives that make food so important. I'm really glad you're discussing this.
Yeah.
Keep
And so
going,
there's a
please.
psychological, emotional impact that food has on your life. And it can, birthday cakes and summer vacation are like big events, but even just like you use food as a ceremony throughout your day because you eat 3 times a day. And even things like in finance, you have there's a 3 o'clock like break. Everyone goes to get like a coffee. And I always had a cold Diet Coke.
Mm-hmm.
And that was how I managed my day and my motivation. And it was really important. And that was taken away from me. And even those little things like a crisp Diet Coke at 3 o'clock, the effervescence and the chill of it that like gives you enough steam to get through to the rest of the day is not trivial at all. And so I literally was having a bad day. So it'd been 5 years at this point that it was 2016, end of 2016 into 2017. It was it was a holiday season. I had been shopping all day. I'd forgotten to eat. I don't know if that ever happens to you when you're like shopping for the holidays. You're like, it's 3 o'clock and I haven't had breakfast yet.
Yes, right.
And I was standing online, and of course it's the holidays, and there's like 100 people in front of me, and I was like, oh, I'm so hungry. And there was this package of gluten-free cookies positioned right in front of me as I'm standing there in line. I was like, clever merchandising. So I grab it, and it's beautiful packaging. It has this whole story about this artisanal chef. And I opened the package and to take a bite, and I couldn't even swallow it. And I was like, you know what? I deserve a cookie. Like, there is no purpose in life for a cookie other than to make you smile. It's not how you need vitamins and minerals. It's not how you should be consuming the majority of your calories. It has zero purpose in life, a little cookie. It's like a little smile maker, right? It's not a piece of cake or a cupcake or some big dessert. It's just meant to make you smile and give you a little snack. Right. And it was like, and it's butter, flour, and sugar and chocolate chips. Like, how hard is that? And it just like, there over this time between when I was diagnosed and when I started my company, there had been a lot of new brands on the market, but I wouldn't say that the quality or there was an improved amount of quality in any of these products or any significant amount of differentiation.
Yeah, there was a gluten-free craze. I mean, all of a sudden everything was gluten-free.
Yeah,
but you're saying the quality of it just wasn't any good. And, I want a cookie. I love that one. That was great.
Yeah. And so, I've learned a lot about why that is. In the US, there's 40,000 food manufacturing facilities, but only about a dozen of them are gluten-free certified. So you only have a handful of options to choose if you want to take a product to market. And of course, when you're working with a manufacturing facility, they have their suppliers in place already. They have their type of machinery in place already. They're operationally efficient. So if you come in with new suppliers and new machines and new processes, you're increasing their costs and therefore your costs. So everyone sort of gets operationalized, and there's a lot of consolidation at the manufacturing level. Which is why a lot of the products look so similar to each other. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to create a cookie that looks like a cookie. I'm going to create a cookie that tastes as good as I remember, because I spent most of my life eating a normal cookie, and I know what a bakery cookie should taste like. I know what a fresh baked cookie should taste like. And so I did.
And you love to bake too.
I do.
A love that you have, right?
Like I am a very good baker now, but up until that point, it was more of a hobby. I was a good baker. People never like complained about my baking, but it was something I did to like decompress. Sure. Finance is very intense and it's very transactional, and I enjoy sort of the physical aspect of baking, and that you could in about 30 minutes go from like a concept to a finished product. I found that very rewarding. And so I love food. I love baking. I love cooking as well. And so it was something I did as a hobby. Now I do it far more technically, of course. And so I literally, in that moment, I went through like a mini midlife crisis, even though I was barely midlife, but I left my job in finance. I was like, I'm starting a business. I'm making a gluten-free cookie company. And I spent like 3 months working like from 6 a.m. from sun up to sundown, baking and developing really process, recipe, flour blends, technique, science behind, because what I discovered as I made for weeks, failed at making miserable, disgusting cookies, was that the science doesn't exist for gluten-free, because when you remove gluten from the recipe, the entire recipe fails.
Right. I remember
it no longer, the chemistry baking is chemistry. and biology. And when you remove the structure from the chemistry, the recipe no longer works. I was like, oh, this just doesn't exist. I can't use an existing cookie recipe and modify it. I have to create a recipe from scratch.
I can't remember what comedian it was, but I remember there was a comedian talking about gluten-free cookies, and he tasted it and he said, let me just spread a little bit of gluten on top of this and it'll be okay. Right? You know?
Yeah.
So, and I understand you also used your grandmother's like 100-year-old recipe. Is that true?
Yeah. So I launched my cookies. I had 3 flagship flavors and they were just gluten-free. And I launched them in Whole Foods in 2018. I created the recipes in my studio apartment. I lived at the time on 72nd Street, and there's a Whole Foods on 86th Street. So I walked into the Whole Foods. I was just looking for feedback. In business school, they create a prototype, get feedback, refine it. Walked into the Whole Foods, and the team leader at the bakery section was like, wow, that's the best gluten-free cookie I've ever tasted. He was like, go down to Brooklyn and Union Square and talk to the team leaders there. I didn't even know what that meant, but I was like, okay. And if we like your product, we'll email the regional team, and we have like a local forager program. They might bring you on. This was on a Thursday, and I was being onboarded by Monday. I launched 3 flavors in 3 Whole Foods, just 3 locations here in Manhattan in January of 2018. It was brown butter chocolate chip, salted peanut butter, and double Dutch chocolate chip. And they were just gluten-free. They were doing so well. And I was in a Whole Foods talking to the regional team one day, and they're like, Carolyn, gluten-free is great and it's growing, but like vegan is really growing. Can you make us a vegan gluten-free cookie? And I was like, you want me to bake without flour, butter, or eggs? Do you know what baking is? Baking is flour, butter, and eggs. That's
Wait,
the holy trinity of
wow.
baking.
Wait,
right?
how is flour not vegan?
Well, so flour is vegan,
Yeah.
but eggs and butter aren't vegan.
Sure, right.
So my gluten-free cookies have gluten-free flour in there, but not wheat flour. So the holy trinity of baking is wheat flour,
Yes.
eggs, and butter. That's how you make almost everything, right?
Okay. And what was it? What was the desire to have a vegan cookie? I mean, what was the market need?
Just the consumer trends. People were really focused on the environment, things being plant-based. Another trend is pure, simple, and clean, things that they felt comfortable putting in their bodies and also feeding to their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm not vegan because I already have enough dietary restrictions. Being vegan, I wouldn't be able to basically exist. It would be very challenging. But I was like, okay, if Whole Foods asks you to do something, you do. And it was Christmas time. I was at my mother-in-law's house, and she served me this cookie. It was oatmeal coconut, and it was the best cookie I've ever tasted. I was like, this is incredible. I need to make this cookie. And it had oatmeal and coconut in it. And those are both really sturdy ingredients. So I'm having to replace like the egg, which is a lot of the protein and the structure, and also the butter, which is a lot of the flavor. And I was like, this is the recipe I think I can make vegan. It was a 100-year-old recipe from my wife's side of the family. Her grandma made it. Her mom makes it. Her grandma made it. Her great grandma, Charlotte, made it. And it goes back beyond Charlotte, but I don't even know those relatives' names. Yes. Right. So it's more than 100 years old at this point. It's because Grandma Arlene is already in her 80s, and it was great grandma Charlotte's recipe. Yeah. So I took it and I converted it, and it's my number 1 best-selling cookie is oatmeal coconut. And then it was so successful that I now have a whole line of vegan gluten-free cookies. I have 4 additional flavors that are vegan and gluten-free.
Wow. So let me remind people where they can go. It's Mightylicious.com, and that's mighty spelled like mighty, and then licious, Mightylicious.com. How'd you come up with that name?
I wanted a name that was fun and interesting. There's so many Pamela's gluten-free and Lucy's gluten-free and Abe's gluten-free and someone's gluten-free. And I didn't want to be Carolyn's gluten-free. I wanted it to be fun and engaging. And so I was like, my cookies are mighty and they're delicious. Mightylicious.
Good. That's great. So you've been through challenges with your health and cracked the code on that. You were also, as you were talking about before, originally in finance at JP Morgan, and now you've left and grown your company. What are some of the challenges you've had with growing a gluten-free cookie company?
Oh my gosh, all the challenges. People ask me, like, I love this business, and I could sit here and talk about it all day. There's never a day that I don't want to wake up and do my business, or I don't want to go into work. Like, it's an absolute joy. But being a small business owner is like, I tell people, it's like, you have to be prepared. You're going to get kicked in the teeth every single day. It's everything that can go wrong literally will go wrong. From like, what I do now is marketing. I've created a product. I have a manufacturing facility. They're the manufacturer. They do the manufacturing. They own the equipment and the personnel and the ingredients. I own the recipe and I own the branding and the marketing. So I'm in marketing, but I'm also in distribution. I am in national distribution, and the things that can go wrong when you put something on a truck. And I know that I don't have to, because everyone's received a FedEx box that looks like an elephant jumped on it. And they're like, how on earth did this happen? The things that can go wrong in distribution are just endless. And it's the one thing that I can't control, because I'm at the manufacturing facility. I see what's going on. I know what the ingredients are. I know what the process is. I have input and I have a level of control. When I put my product on a truck, I have zero control from that point forward. So it is hard. I'm up against, some of my competitors in the market are people like Oreo, which is the largest cookie in the world and is owned by Mondelez, which is the biggest consumer packaged good company in the world. And so when I'm marketing and I'm putting, $5,000, $10,000 towards marketing, there's 3 pages of Oreos that like pop up before my ads, before you even see them. So, I mean, there's challenges at every level and everything we do. But when you have a great product and it resonates, people find it.
Good. And people can find it now. If you go to Mightylicious.com, you can order online. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we have a direct-to-consumer webpage, Mightylicious.com. You can learn more about our products, about our ingredients. You can order directly from us. We ship nationwide.
Okay.
If you order 3 bags of cookies or more, shipping is free. So we offer that. We also are on Amazon.com. So you can go to our Amazon page and put us in your Prime box, and we ship nationwide there. And then we're in many retailers across the US.
Good. And some of those retailers are?
We're in Walmart in the Northeast and Giant in the Northeast. We're in H-E-B in Texas. We're out in the LA region and Mothers and a bunch of independents out there. There's a lot of independents that we're in, but Giant, Walmart, and H-E-B are our 3 largest sort of chain stores. And then we're in hundreds of specialty independent grocery stores across the US.
Wonderful. Good. And aside from cookies, you also have mixes, correct? Tell us about the mixes.
So last year, we launched our flour blends. I was at a food show and I was explaining to a buyer what makes my cookie so good. And it's actually that we mill and manufacture our own flour, meaning rice flour in the US is actually milled for cooking, not baking. So it's milled. So it's sort of like a fine sand, which is why gluten-free baked goods often have that gritty texture. That's a complaint people often have, is the mouthfeel and the grittiness.
Thank you for explaining that. I didn't know that. Yes.
Now everyone's had that experience. Like, what is that? When you don't, so flour has to be milled. When you think about wheat flour or cornstarch or things that are baked with, it's like silk. And the rice is milled. So it's very fine sand, like in a sand box for children. And I have a saying, and it goes like this: if it looks like sand, it tastes like sand.
Got it. Okay, good.
Then in order to replace the protein, like rice flour has 1/400th the amount of protein as wheat flour, which is why it's very hard to bake with, to make things rise like you need for a cookie. So people add additional flours to the rice flour, and they often use an ancient grain like sorghum flour, amaranth flour, and millet flour. I love ancient grains. They're very good for you. They're high in vitamins and minerals. They're high in protein. I have nothing against them, but they don't taste good in baked goods. When you bake them past 150 degrees, they develop this acrid, bitter flavor that overpowers the finished product. And nobody wants a cookie that tastes bitter and acrid. So when you use a traditional gluten-free flour blend, you're getting the grittiness from the rice flour and you're getting the aftertaste of the ancient grain. And you take one bite and you no longer want to have a cookie, which is, we're like genetically programmed to want to eat cookies.
Right.
I actually work with co-op farmers in California, and they grow the rice. So we use a specific kind of rice. We work with co-op farmers in California, and then we have a specialty rice mill that mills our rice flour to a spec so that it's super fine. It feels like silk. It looks and feels like cornstarch. Then instead of using an ancient grain to replace the protein, we use whole milk powder in our all-purpose gluten-free blend, and we use coconut milk powder in our vegan flour blend, which is the same blend that we use for our cookies. You have this flour blend that is high in protein, or high enough in protein to bake with, that is super smooth and pillowy and soft the way that flour should be, and has no weird aftertaste. So when you taste a Mightylicious gluten-free cookie, it looks, tastes, smells, and feels just like a cookie. Wow. There's no strangeness to it at all. And I was explaining this to this buyer, and he goes, "Oh, I'm the flour buyer at Kroger. Can I get your flour?" And I was like,
there you go.
So like I ran home and had my graphic designer and I at midnight were designing a flour bag
For
packaging.
Kroger,
I
right.
sent him some samples and they were like, "We'll take it." And so I was like, I guess I have a flour business now.
There you go. Good.
I have 3 SKUs. I have my all-purpose gluten-free flour blend, which is brilliant if you love baking. I have a vegan flour blend, and then I have a vegan gluten-free brownie mix, which is the best thing I've ever made. These brownies are insane.
Wow. Okay. You just sold me. Great. You got a brownie mix. What you said, it's a gluten-free what brownie mix?
Vegan. So the brownie mix is gluten-free and vegan. All you have to add is water and your favorite vegan yogurt.
Wow. Wow. Oh,
And
yogurt. Interesting.
Put it in the pan and put it in the oven, and you have unbelievably chewy, chocolatey, gooey brownies that are divine.
I want to recommend that for everybody. I'm going to go out and buy that as soon as I can. Good. So, Carolyn, are there any questions that I didn't ask that I should have, or is there a big message you'd like to leave with people today?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people ask me how to start, and I think this is especially important for women, is just start. No matter what starting is. Like for me, starting with the cookies and then walking into a Whole Foods. Had I not done that on that day, I would not be here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the most important thing, if you're interested in starting a business or being an entrepreneur or have an idea, is to just start. And it can be something really small, like just developing a recipe or getting feedback on your packaging. But the most important thing is to start and see where it goes, because the serendipity of life is incredibly powerful if you let it happen.
Good. Amazing. It's been wonderful talking with you. I've had a really good time and I've learned a tremendous amount about baking. I'm not a baker myself, but I really appreciate everything you've shared with us today. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think you asked really amazing questions. I really appreciate it. That was really thorough, and I can tell that you did your research, so I appreciate that as well.
Good. Great. Thanks so much for being with us. We've been talking with Carolyn Haeler of Mightylicious.com. She's a lifelong foodie and baker. She was diagnosed with celiac disease at 31 and was inspired to heal her body from the inside out. Her research of the gluten-free market found it to be filled with uninspired products with poor taste and texture. She turned her grandmother's 100-year-old recipe and developed the perfect gluten-free cookie and flours from her gluten-free flour blend. Her cookies, flours, and mixes are now sold in 43 states, in Whole Foods, Sprouts, Walmart, Costco, Ralph's, and many other chains. You can go and enjoy at Mightylicious.com. Thanks again for being with us, Carolyn. It's been great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Good. This has been Jonathan Marks. Visit our website at GoToHealthMedia.com. We've got hundreds of interviews we've completed. If you're watching us on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify, please subscribe to us. And if you like what we're doing, please give us a thumbs up or a 5-star review. That helps us get the word out to more people. Thanks in advance. This has been Jonathan Marks with GoToHealth. And as we say at the end of every show, go to health. God bless. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Wonderful to meet you. I really appreciate it. Like I said, those were wonderful questions. Sometimes I get the same questions that over and over again, and those are really thoughtful. So I appreciate it.
Good. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in today to Go to Health. You are one of almost 10,000 people per day who enjoy the evidence-based health information offered by our guest health experts. You can watch us on our website and YouTube and listen to us on 8 podcast networks. Be sure to join Jonathan Marks in our upcoming shows each week. If you like our show, please share this episode with your friends and colleagues. You can subscribe to the show, join our email list, send us feedback, browse through the online store, and view our library of over 150 shows at GoToHealthMedia.com. See you next time, and remember to elevate your life with Go to Health.